So we got some very special VIPs, in addition to the amazing Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan team. But you're going to meet several other great leaders involved in this work in a little bit. I'm going to kick it off with just an overview of what is Next Level Nonprofit, what does this journey potentially look like, and then we're going to open it up for all kinds of Q&A and have a lot of fun together. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And when I do that, can I just get a thumbs up, Sarah, if you can see a big giant globe with a Band-Aid on it? All right, we are officially making the sauce. So the reason this slides on here is because I mean every single one of us on this call is acutely aware that our world is overwhelmed with problems, right? But the good news is people like you and millions of other people around the country and around the world have started incredible organizations, stepped into the fight, looking to make a massive, significant difference. And one of the things that I've learned is that the vast majority of nonprofits who have annual revenues of at least $1 million a year, which I think is the vast majority of you on this call, um, most of those nonprofits have spent significant time and resources creating meaningful strategic plans with the hopes of maximizing their resources, overcoming their greatest challenges, and increase in achieving their most significant goals, right? But the unfortunate reality that I've learned is that 90% of strategic plans are failing to be implemented successfully. And that's based on multiple studies promoted in the Harvard Business Review and other places. And one of the things I like to point out on this slide is the fact that we may be wondering, like, why are strategic plans failing? And I think it's very obvious when we look at this graph, right? Clearly, Pac-Man has escaped the arcade. He's become demonized and he's gobbling up everything that looks like progress. And while Pac-Man may make for a funny, joke and funny visual, the unfortunate reality of this is not so funny, right? Because 90% of strategic plans failing is a lot more than wasted paper. It's wasted donor dollars. It's wasted potential. And most importantly, the people that we all set out to serve aren't getting access to the excellence that they deserve. And so, because of that, that is why our team created Next Level Nonprofit. And I'm going to unpack more of what it is in a minute. But the story of creating Next Level Nonprofit has everything to do with the creation of Life Remodel, which is an organization I know many of you are familiar with. I started it in 2010, and Life Remodel's main work is repurposing large, beautiful vacant school buildings into one-stop hubs of opportunity for community thriving. And Life Remodeled helps identify the community priorities of what increased opportunities do community members want access to. And then we go out and recruit the very best and brightest nonprofits that are already providing those services, and we move them into one space and achieve impact and outcome that would have been impossible alone. But even though our webinar is what 90 minutes, and we're gonna try to buy you back some time today. I could go on for well over 90 minutes about how many failures that I've made, and I'm still failing today in different ways. But some of the most significant failures I made early on were I hired people who had yellow and red flags that I wasn't aware of at the time, but it was my job as the CEO to know better. And when it came to bringing on new team members, if they weren't already rock stars who could independently overcome their own challenges, I had no idea how to help people grow and develop, let alone thrive as a team. And we had a strategic plan that looked really good on paper, but it was like the 90%, right? That I mentioned earlier, it wasn't being operationalized. And so that was 2010 that I started Life Remodeled. And those were a lot of the failures I had in the first 4 years. But then we turned the corner over the next decade pretty significantly. And from 2014 to 2024, we were able to renovate four schools, invest $56 million into these neighborhoods, beautify 2,600 blocks, mobilize almost 87,000 volunteers. Not quite. And I'm still bummed about that to this day. I mean, what were we only 22 away? Ah, darn it. And then we boarded up over 2,000 houses. Okay. We achieved the highest ratings you can possibly have on Charity Navigator and also on Candid. However, more importantly than any of those output or outcome measurements, Gallup Research did a study in Detroit where it was called Amplifying Black Voices. And they were measuring Detroiters' perception of their ability to thrive based on the specific neighborhood they lived in. And they traveled to all sections of the entire city. I didn't even know this study was happening until it was done. And they were measuring Detroiters' perception of their ability to thrive based on where they lived. It turns out the neighborhood surrounding that building I just showed you scored number two in the entire city of Detroit. That's the community now known as Durfee, and I'll get to that in a minute. In 2024, the police chief at the time, Police Chief White in Detroit, called us on the phone and he says, "You have to see this. The Durfee neighborhood has the lowest crime now in the entire city." And when we first opened the doors to that building in 2017, it was among the highest crime rates. And of course, we give lots of credit to a wonderful police force. But what we believe at Life Remodel is the best way to curtail crime is to create access to better opportunities. And so I show you that that's the impact that these projects had because of this. The way we were able to turn around our organization from a startup and chaos and nowhere near the level of excellence that we eventually achieved was we created and implemented what we call Next Level Nonprofit. It's an organizational operating system. It's based on four key components. And you can see those on your screen: team unity, compelling vision, right strategy, discipline execution. And here's what we believe. Every time an organization grows in these four components, they go to the next level in their ability to increase lasting impact. And I know almost every one of the nonprofits on this call, and I know this about all of you. All of you are already creating lasting impact. And honestly, the fact that I get to spend 90 minutes with you is like the highlight of my week. And we're going to talk more about your work in a little bit. But I also want to say this, and I'm convinced of this, and I'm curious if you agree. Go ahead and write in the chat if you agree with this or disagree with this. But I believe every organization is either growing or dying. I don't believe there's ever such a thing as arriving. And I also don't believe in the pursuit of perfection. But yet every organization is either growing or dying. And so I've never seen an organization that's perfectly arrived in all four of these components. And the most important component on this entire wheel is number one, team unity. And here's why I believe strategic planning is failing. And I'm also curious if you agree with this too or disagree. Please give us your perspectives. Yeah, I could be dead wrong on this, but I'm pretty convinced that I'm right. Okay. So I love strategic planning and we do strategic planning. That's a major part of our work. But I believe traditional strategic planning is failing because traditional strategic planning ends once the plan is created. Sometimes it focuses on strategic execution, but it never focuses on the most important component of all, which is right people in the right seats, all rowing the same direction. That is what an organizational operating system is. It's a metaphorical marriage between strategic planning and strategic execution built on a foundation of the most important ingredient of all, which is that you have all the right people in all the right positions and they're all rowing toward the same vision and strategy. And so I talked about this thing called an organizational operating system, and it's not a software, although it is helpful to use software as an analogy. Some of us are Mac users, some of us are PC users, some of us are iPhone, some of us are Android. But the wonderful thing is we all have an operating system that we probably take for granted because what an operating system does is it's operating in the background. It integrates every program that will ever run on that device, and it takes extremely complex inputs and simplifies them. And so an operating system in the nonprofit world, what I'm talking about, an organizational operating system, is all four of those components. And basically, let me ask you this. I want to know how effective is your operating system? And you don't have to answer that right now, but you can if you want. And what I mean by that is how effective are you at attracting the very best talent in the region? And not just attracting them, but securing them on your team. And not just securing them on your team, but developing people into the very highest capacity professional people, personal, that they can personally be and professionally be, right? Sorry, I got caught up on that personal professional, that they can be professionally. How effective are you at retaining those rock stars that you have on your team? How effective are you at then turning that team into a real team where everyone understands what success looks like, where we're going, and how to get there? And your vision is so compelling, they're giving their lives to it, and your strategy is right. And then you're executing it with fidelity, discipline, execution, right? But here's the good news. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. So, whatever results we're getting right now in our organizations, our systems are perfectly designed to get exactly what we're getting. So this endeavor, this partnership with Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan is about saying how many of us want to upgrade our system? How many of us want to go to the next level in our ability to make more lasting impact, to build a dream team, to get the right people in the right seats, all rowing the same direction, increase our vision, our strategy, our execution. And so the deeper why I and several friends created this is not even about the organizations themselves. We're coaching organizations in 17 states and in 3 countries. And when we coach nonprofits, we love you. Like we absolutely fall in love with all of you on this call, any of the executive teams we get to work with. But honestly, we're most passionate about the people you serve. And we believe the people that you serve deserve the highest level of excellence that you can possibly give them. And I know all of you believe that, which is why you're on this Zoom. And so we have an organizational assessment. It's 20 questions. It takes less than 20 minutes. It's on our website. We'll make sure we can send it out after the call. But the highest you can score is 100. On average, organizations are scoring 46 and a half when they're honest. Now, I've had multiple people take this, especially CEOs, and they end up scoring like 65 or 70 or 80. And then I read the questions to them exactly as they're written. And when questions say things like all staff or every person and fill in the blank, they say, well, do you really mean all? Yes, I mean all. Right. And they say, well, okay, I guess we really don't have this one. I really just don't really have that one there on average. And I'm talking excellent organizations, even organizations that are running on revenues of $100 million a year or more, on average are scoring 46 and a half. This is a very different assessment than probably what any of us have taken before. It's measuring those four components: team unity, compelling vision, right strategy, discipline, and execution. On average, organizations that we coach are growing 30 points in the first year. They're growing in their team, they're growing in their vision and strategy, and they're actually executing their strategy. So I wrote the book in 2023 that contains the entire methodology, and there are hundreds of nonprofits around the world right now self-implementing this methodology. And I've written it in a way that you can do that. But the difference between self-implementing and bringing in an expert, a third party, someone outside the organization who lives and breathes coaching. And by the way, you're going to get to meet the main coach of this cohort today. She is on this call. She is a very good friend of mine. And this will be the first time she's announcing publicly that she's going to become a next level nonprofit coach. And by the way, this person has implemented this system since the very beginning of when we created it. So she is a master at it. Bringing on a coach changes everything. And so we have three CEOs here today from three fantastic nonprofits. I'm going to ask for screen sharing permission, or at least for them, not screen sharing, but the ability for them to come off their mic for Andrea Meyer, Laura Varon Brown, and Adrian Lewis. And we're going to start in this order: Andrea, then Laura, then Adrian. And I've invited each of them just to give a little, basically like testimonial. Tell us what has been the experience with Next Level Nonprofit, and I'll let you take it from there. So, Andrea, you're up. Maybe.
Chris had asked me to rejoin, so I'm here and I might have missed if you asked me to start.
I did. You're right on
Okay.
cue.
Okay, beautiful. Let me get my camera going. Okay. Hi, everyone. I see so many faces that are just amazing partners in this work. So thank you. Thank you, Chris, for this opportunity. We're in year 3 at Center for Success. It has been an absolutely phenomenal experience for us. When I was reflecting on what I wanted to share with each of you today, 3 things came to mind. So, one of the things that has really changed the game for us as an organization is the culture building that has happened within our group, which is speaks to the unity that you talked about, Chris. We are all on the same page of our values. We are all aligned on not only what are our values, but what do they mean and what do they look like in practice and how can we hold each other accountable to them? We do regularly kind of call each other out or highlight and celebrate when we see those values in action, which has just been tremendous for our organization. It is such a way to amplify and to celebrate each of the people who are on our team, which is amazing. Alongside that is bringing people onto the team that are also aligned on those values, that want to operate in the same way that we do. So the staffing component and attracting folks who want to work not only for us, for our mission, but with us in alignment with those values is huge. It has at the very beginning allowed some folks to see themselves off our team who really didn't exemplify those values, who didn't want to be held accountable to those, and were a better fit at another organization and not ours. And so it's been really pivotal in building our team culture, and really high standards of excellence for our team members. Um, I think the next thing that really came to mind was that all of our team members, because this process allows you to have this vision so solidified, every person on the team sees themselves within it. So they are motivated and excited every quarter when we talk about and celebrate the wins over the last quarter or things that missed the mark, and we're really transparent about it. People see themselves in it. So they come to work every day excited, not only to fulfill in their role, but they see how that impacts the rest of the team and ultimately the mission and the community that we serve, which is enormous. And I'd say finally, it has given me, as the executive director, the language to speak to supporters of our work, businesses, donors, foundations who speak the same language of quarterly priorities or KPIs or, these long-term visions. It gives me a framework to have that conversation very deeply, to give evidence behind it, to share about what we're focused on in this quarter, or to say to some folks, no, we're not focused on that. And this is why we've really honed in on what's important. And this is what we're focused on right now. That may be at a later date, but truly right now, this is what our whole team is rowing for, like you said, Chris. So it gives us that language and confidence and strength in like our conviction around it that just allows people to see how deeply invested we are in our core mission and in our programs. So those are the three main things that I definitely wanted to share.
Andrea, thank you. I know you got to bounce too, but Andrea, and then also you're about to hear from Laura next, were two of the very first people to jump in and say, "I'm going to start this journey. Let's do the next level nonprofit journey." So you are what I call radical. And this doesn't work without people like you jumping in and trying it out. You're on year three, actually about to start year four now. And so that means so much to have you here, Andrea. Thank you. And Laura Vera Brown, if you are connected still, you are up.
I am. I'm 1 foot out the door. I start a long vacation tomorrow. So, yeah, as Chris said, I'm Laura, I'm the CEO of Gilda's Club, and I approached Chris about something totally different. And it was coming out of COVID, and I'm like, I don't even like them anymore. Nobody wanted to come back to work. They wanted to work at home. We have a forward-facing organization, so trying to figure out the babies that were born during COVID, how to bring them back into the office. So it came at a perfect time for us when we had experienced enormous growth in some right prior to the pandemic. So we needed some structure and we needed to be accountable to each other and just reconnect. We always had a really good culture, but this helped us build a culture that I am happy to say, and I'm going to knock on wood, we have had the same staff at our organization for over 2.5 years now. And I think that is no mistake when you look at what we were able to do through Next Level Nonprofit. We set goals for ourselves, but we were maturing as an organization. So the meeting that we have as a leadership team, it just keeps us accountable and we're able to see, and certainly some things change, but it has really kept us as a team accountable to each other. And now after more than 3 years with this, we are rolling it out, or we have rolled it out to the entire staff. And that's always not an easy thing to do, but because we have the language and because we have the structure, and we proved as a leadership team that we were all in and that we were going to do it ourselves, that now the staff understands that. Because in nonprofits, we don't always like goals. We like to freewheeling and just feel it. But, we're a business and we're an important business. I think the most important businesses. So for us, rolling it out to the staff and being accountable to each other, and it was, we realized we have an obligation to grow and we have an obligation to serve. And so you can't always do that just organically. You need some structure to that and some guidance. And we appreciated Chris's guidance enormously. The radical candor went both ways with that, especially when we're talking about AI. But the radical candor part in nonprofits, we were always a group that was kind of afraid to not be honest, but to kind of call each other out. And now we do that beautifully in it where it doesn't even feel like it's radically candor. It's just part of the conversation. So we have appreciated all that, and our little organization has grown. But the culture, what happens inside here now happens to anyone who walks through our doors. And if you're treating each other with this kind of structure, compassion, and culture, it only resonates to whether it's your donors or who you serve. So we are very grateful to have been an early adopter, and we just love it.
We love you. And LVB, thank you. Enjoy your vacation somewhere amazing, I'm sure. So you just heard from two remarkable leaders who've been implementing this framework now for more than 3 years. And now you're going to hear from a leader, Adrian, who, what have you been implementing now for what is it, about 5 months, six months, Adrian?
6 months. 6 months.
You're
Yeah,
up.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's been 6 months, and good afternoon, everybody. For those of you, it looks like I know many of you on the call, but those of you that I haven't met yet, just as Chris stated, Adrian Lewis, President CEO of Forgotten Harvest. I have the privilege and honor to lead such an organization. And 3 years ago, when I came to the organization, it was clear to me that not only is it a great organization, it deserves to be even greater and provide even greater impact. And how do we do that, right? We can't do that alone with just passion. We can't do that alone with, quite frankly, with just mission. We definitely need consistency, just as others have spoken on the call. And I will warn you already, Chris and team, that many of my remarks are very consistent with the previous leaders that spoke, and that was rewarding to hear. Before next level nonprofit, before the team and I adapted it, right now I can tell you, if I had to put a percentage, it's 100% better in terms of teamwork and unity that was spoken about in terms of broken silos that we sometimes feel as though they're there, or even if we're ignoring it, it forces us to address it. But then those competing priorities, that those were all the case, and I know it's the way in most organizations, whether it be nonprofit or for profit. But and then the unclear accountabilities to be able to address that by having right people, right seat, understanding very clearly as to what their role is and how it contributes to the mission, and that everyone is aligned with the core values. What are they? I still laugh because one of our first coaching sessions, the question came up if we could, even as an executive team, share what the core values are, right? And I turned to look on the wall because I couldn't repeat them quickly enough, right? And I guess that's a small example, but when you really are dedicated to something, you really do have a North Star. A tool such as Next Level Nonprofit is definitely a great tool to have. A few other thoughts that I wanted to share. Obviously the impact has been very significant these past 6 months, and I'm really inspired by Laura, LVB, I think is what Chris referred to her as. I'm really inspired by the long-term impact, right? When we do get a chance to roll it out to the entire organization. Right now, it's at the executive team level. Um, but by end of year, our goal is to have it rolled out to all of the leaders throughout the organization. And then by beginning of next year, we're planning to have the rest of the organization rolled out. So we have a pretty confident pulse that this is the right thing to do. And again, being on these calls and utilizing the coaching sessions have been very critical to that. Also, what's really cool is that we just completed our 3-year strategic plan that's going to be technically effective July 1st. And what great timing to have a tool to help with executing, making sure that, we have an operating system that directly influences, how we're executing for the next 3 years. That connection with strategy and execution, I know it has been invaluable and it's going to continue to be as we go forward. Um, if I had to leave you with one thought or one sentence or quote, it would be Next Level Nonprofit didn't change our mission. It changed our ability to execute that mission in a consistent, strategically, and quite frankly, at a higher level. And I believe in it. I'm really pleased at the simplicity of it. And, it, the system allows you to not only grow as a leader, but it also uh, helps you to be a better coach, be a better leader. And not everyone is equipped to do that. We understand that. But having the empathy, but more especially having the care for people in your team's development is very critical to the success of our whole sector, if we think about it, right? I mean, look at the talent pipeline that's out there. and to know that Forgotten Harvest and hopefully many of you are going to be contributing to that, whether it be your internal pipeline, but more especially the entire ethos of nonprofits. So I'm excited about it, and I'll be around. If there's ever any questions, please shoot me an email. Many of you have my number. Give me a call. I'll be glad to break bread and talk more about it. But it's been a great experience, and I thank Next Level Nonprofit and the team for providing us such a great tool.
Wow.
Thank you.
Adrian, thank you. So that was beautiful, all three of you. And the main reason I wanted everyone to hear from you is so that everyone can understand the real key ingredient to why this implementation is working. It's those three people that you just heard from. This methodology only works if you work it. And those three leaders that you just heard from have the characteristics that many would call hungry, humble, and smart. They're hungry for far more impact. They're humble. I mean, all three of them just talked about things that they learned and wanted to learn and grow in. And they're all remarkable seasoned leaders, right? And then they're smart. And smart, I mean that, I mean, they're obviously extremely intelligent, intellectually, but really emotionally intelligent. That's the bigger smart piece that you need for this system to really work well in an organization is it starts with the CEO being emotionally intelligent or enough to realize I want to grow in my relational intelligence, emotional intelligence. So, Adrian, thank you. Sarah, am I back on camera to like the presenter mode? Okay, cool. I couldn't tell on my side, but I'm going to go through six more slides, and then you're going to hear from the coach who's going to coach at least 15 of the 20 in this cohort. And I just want to build the suspense because this is a very, very special person. And I can't wait for you to see who she is. So the next couple slides, actually six total, I'm going to go through. Starts with this one here that says, okay, are you experiencing any of these pain points? Right? Are you attracting, developing, and retaining the top talent that's right for your mission, right? Are you able to create and operationalize a strategic plan that sets you up for long-term success? Are you lacking ultra clear accountability that inspires and motivates your crew to ultimately fulfill its mission? And are you missing your fundraising targets and the expectations of your stakeholders? And I want to be clear that we're not a fundraising consultancy. However, I've been raising funds for quite some time, tens of millions of dollars in fundraising. And if I ask 100 nonprofits what's their biggest barrier to achieving their goals, 99 are going to tell me they need more money. And even though I've done a lot of different fundraising trainings, I found that these foundational principles that we just talked about earlier actually lead to greater fundraising growth than personally any other fundraising program I've seen currently. But I still recommend fundraising consultancy highly. I just want to be clear, we don't do fundraising consultancy, but we're working on the bigger foundational barriers that are in your way to achieving fundraising excellence. So I want to invite us to imagine for a minute, what would the impact of our work look like if we had all the right people in the right seats, all rowing toward the same vision and mission in the same direction, right? We had the right strategy and we were implementing that strategy with excellence, day in, day out, consistently. How much more would the people we serve grow and be blessed by us? That's my heart to improve every day, and I think it's yours too. Some of you have heard of other business operating systems. The most well known is EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, phenomenal system. A more sophisticated system is called Pinnacle, and we actually partner with Pinnacle. But Pinnacle pricing starts at $50,000. Most of the companies that they coach are paying 80 to $120,000 a year. It's fantastic coaching, right? EOS is a little more entry level, although really good implementers are going to charge 50 to $75,000 a year. Now, there's some newer, greener implementers that charge a lot less, but the great ones are charging a lot more. We're very intentional about making our price accessible. And so we have three tiers of pricing. If you're under $3 million dollars a year in revenue, it's $20,000 a year for our coaching. If you're between 3 and $10 million dollars revenue, it's $25,000 a year. If you're over 10 million, the max we charge is 30 grand. Even though a lot of, I mean, nonprofits that large could pay a lot more, we're very passionate about financial accessibility. Even then, though, as we most of us know on this call, 97% of nonprofits in the United States operate on less than $5 million dollars a year. And that's why what Community Foundation is doing is so, so special because they've said we believe in your capacity building capabilities and growth, and we want to invest in you. And to cover half the cost for those who are in the $20,000 tier, those of you who are under $3 million dollars a year, um, that's monumental. And we've done this now in cities across the country. And we've seen that that amount of investment leads to nonprofits getting engaged in this very, very quickly. So we're putting together a cohort of 20 nonprofits, and we plan to launch that cohort this fall. So we're hoping to determine the 20 in the very near future. I'm not going to go over this whole slide, but basically what I want you to see is these bullet points are specific tools that are associated with these four components. You notice Team Unity has four tools, but you also notice compelling vision and right strategy only have one tool, and that is the next level strategy. That's the two-page strategic plan that we implement with organizations so that they can distill their vision and strategy down to just 2 pages so that everyone in the organization can be crystal clear about where you're going and how to get there. And they can get really excited about it and actually row the same direction. And then we have 5 tools to help you execute your vision. When it comes to strategic planning, we do take a long range planning approach. And I want to briefly comment here that unfortunately, a lot of nonprofits right now are abandoning the concept of long range strategic planning. And I'm hearing them say this because they're saying, well, the world is changing too much with government cuts or AI, and so on and so forth. And I want to invite you to think back a minute to where the concept of the moonshot all originated. It originated in 1961 when former President Kennedy said, before this decade's out, we're going to put a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth. And we all know that that happened in 1969 before the decade was out. But I wonder if, because very few of us were alive during that time, but I wonder if we recognize how ludicrous that goal was. The technology did not exist at that time to achieve the mission. The math wasn't even known of how we were going to get the spaceship safely back to Earth. Thanks to Hidden Figures and others, we discovered the math that led us to the math that led us to the definitive math. We created the technology that helped us create the technology that ultimately helped us create the technology that achieved the mission. But in response to people giving up long range strategic planning because the world is changing too much, I would invite you to think of the 1960s. I would invite you to think of the very person who stood before Congress and said that ludicrous goal that we're going to put a man on the moon and return him back to Earth before the decade's out. And I want us to realize he was murdered 2 years after he said that. The guy who made the statement was murdered. We had Vietnam. We had civil rights, civil unrest, cities burning, extreme levels of racism. We had, I mean, the list goes on and on. And then President Kennedy, former President Kennedy's brother, was supposedly going to be the hope of the nation. He died before the election. I mean, there's just one crazy scenario in the 60s after another, but the mission was accomplished because what they did was they worked backwards from that 10-year moonshot and they said, what do we need to do over the next 90 days, quarterly priorities, over the next year, over the next 3 years. And so that's how we do strategic planning. You're going to get a 10-year, you're going to come up with a 10-year moonshot statement that come hell or high water, you're going to get it done. Even if you're not here in 10 years, you'll see what's the work you need to do as the CEO and your organization to set the organization up to be able to achieve that. And then you're always looking 3 years out, 1 year out, and even 90 days out, where eventually every team member in the entire organization will have 4 to 7 quarterly priorities, because a quarter is 90 days, that directly impact the strategic plan. Now, everyone in the organization will know where you're going, what success looks like, and what they're doing to get there. And one last thing I'll say about the moonshot. Some of you may know this story that a reporter asked a custodian at NASA in the 1960s. Um, he was interviewing this custodian. He didn't know what the custodian did, and he asked the custodian, "Hey, what do you do here?" And he said, "I'm putting a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth." To the point where that vision and strategy permeated every single staff role throughout the entire organization, including the custodian. That is what compelling vision and right strategy and disciplined execution look like. So I'm about done, and then we're going to open it up for questions, but you're going to hear from the coach in a minute. Our coaching process is 7 full-day sessions with just your executive leadership team, one coach, and your executive leadership team, 7 full days. And I get a lot of pushback initially. People are like, whoa, whoa, how are we going to do 7 full days? I can tell you on average that people gain a minimum of 30 days, usually a lot more, because they're working on the organization, not just in it. And they start making better decisions faster, and they start getting alignment in their organization that by working on the organization, even though it's 7 full days, they end up saving months of their time and actually achieving far greater goals than ever before. If you join this cohort, our first session will be the only session where we'll all be together of these 7. We'll all be together in the same room for session 1, only your executive leadership team members. And then we're going to bring back all the CEOs at the end of the first year and celebrate with Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan and also process what you learned. Okay, now it's no mystery who the new coach is. So, Brandy Haggins, would you please come on screen, and I'm gonna unshare and let you take it from here.
Hello, hello, hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Thumbs up. Yes. Okay. Hi, everybody. So, yes, I will be the main coach for this cohort with Next Level Nonprofit. I am super, super, super excited. And I'm going to explain why. Is because I used to say I was a victim of Next Level Nonprofit, but because I started it with Chris, right? And I started this program with another meeting. Here we go again. Like, I don't like time being wasted, especially when we're a nonprofit and we have so much going on and we're dealing with a lot of participants who are dealing with some of the most vulnerable and hardest times of their own lives. It's just like another thing on your calendar can be stressful alone. And so I was one of the ones that was I wasn't the bad seat, but I was like, what is this? And what I can say is that what I learned with Next Level Nonprofit is that, yes, we did have leaders on our team who were very mission focused. What we didn't have was the alignment and the structure and the team unity that we needed to make the organization great. All of us were in our own lanes at Next Level Nonprofit, doing our own jobs, but not in the know of what everybody else was doing in the organization, which bled into the participants that we were serving. It's just something that we didn't know, right? And so why I'm so passionate about this work, I do know some people on this call, so hi, everybody. If you know me, you know that I am a very passionate and people first leader. With that passion, I have been able to be in the nonprofit leadership field for many, many years prior to me joining Life Remodeled and prior to the role that I'm in right now. And I have witnessed where my heart was not enough to create success for the organization. And so though I lead with my heart, if you lack that structure and in behind the scenes is, I'm sorry, you all, I got these little earpiece on so everybody don't hear me, but if you lack structure and it's just chaotic behind the scenes, what I learned was that when we thought it was just behind the scenes, it actually bled out into our organizations, which ultimately hurt the people that we serve, which ultimately led to the death of our organizations, right? And so that is where Chris was talking about either you're living or you're dying. I know it sounds harsh, but because I've experienced this and I've been able to sit in Next Level Nonprofit and learn what it means to have healthy conflict, learn what it means to gain the trust of our team, learn what it means to then gain the trust of our participants, then I ultimately saw what success was. Working at Next Level Nonprofit allowed me to work alongside many nonprofits over the
And
years, which
Brandy, just
have
to be
been
clear, were you talking about work when you were working with Life Remodeled?
would it be chaotic behind the scenes?
No, when you say working with Next Level Nonprofit, you mean while you were
Oh,
at Life
Life Remodeled.
Remodeled?
I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah,
Life Remodeled. I was about to say no, this was before Life Remodeled.
yeah.
So no. I'm sorry, you all working with Next Level Nonprofit. One of the things you lost me, Chris. Now, where was I?
So you when you were working at Life Remodeled, implementing Next Level Nonprofit, yeah.
And I got to work alongside many nonprofit organizations, which was amazing. I had some amazing relationships with the tenant partners that we had at Life Remodeled, and a lot of them would come talk to me outside of Life Remodeled work, but internally on what's going on in their own organizations, even though they were housed in the Durfee Innovation Society. And I got to share what I knew, helped however I could. And so now I'm in position where how exciting and rewarding would it be to actually go full time and dive deep into working with other nonprofit organizations? And I'm super passionate about nonprofit work, especially in the city of Detroit, because I'm born and raised here, to be able to share what not I think to be true and think to be success of your organization, but what I know, what I have experienced. I am so excited to be able to pour into other nonprofits and guide them into the same success that I got to experience as a participant of Next Level Nonprofit.
Brandy, it looks like you're in a bit of a construction zone and
It's they new
Brandy,
and they little.
no, like the background, like Brandy has built
Oh yeah, I am facilities.
remarkable facilities, like highly complex work at Life Remodel for 7 years as our vice president of Opportunity Hubs, and now at Tech Town for how long? What are you doing at Tech Town right now, Brandy?
Right now, I'm doing pretty much the same work. I am overseeing operations, facility, tenants, co-working space, and leading the charge and leading the team that does all the operations for Tech Town Detroit.
Okay, I'll drop this one other piece of big news since we just announced it recently on a stage together, Brandy. But you're also going to have the pleasure of seeing Brandy on national television on PBS. We're co-hosting a new TV show on nonprofits that'll be nationally distributed on PBS across the country. So the honor will be seeing Brandy. The unfortunate part is you're also going to have to see me as well. But Brandy, thank you. You are absolutely awesome. And so I'm the last two slides are really quick and simple. And it is pretty soon we're going to set a launch date. We don't have the launch date, but it's either going to be in September or October of this year. And so as soon as we solidify the 20, we're off and running, but we're going to set the launch date actually as soon as we solidify the first five. And we already know one that's committing for sure that I've already spoken with well, they want to do it. Of course, they need to apply. There'll be an application process. But the next step, Sarah, what is the next step? Because you and I didn't talk this through. Is it for them to email me at this point, or are they contacting you?
They can do either. You want to put your email address and I'll do the same?
Yes.
All right, let's do
So
that.
yeah, I'll put it in the chat. That's a
Yep,
great
me
idea.
as well. And then
Um,
whoever people are comfortable with or want to email about interest, that would be great.
All right, for those who are watching the recording who weren't live, my email is Chris, CHRIS at nextlevelnonprofit.org. And to qualify, the minimum requirements are your organization needs to have an annual operating revenue of at least $500,000 a year. More importantly, that you have at least three executive leaders on a leadership team, because this work that we're doing is so team focused and it starts with the executive leadership, and we help you roll out the principles throughout the entire organization. If you were just below 500,000 a year, or maybe only had two executive leaders, there could be rare cases where we could make an exception. But that's the rare exception. So now we're going to open it up. What questions, comments, thoughts? Is everyone able to speak verbally, or are they only able to chat?
I will, I think it
Think
looks
I can
like,
speak.
yeah, good.
Let's go,
Great.
Yeah,
Tanya.
All
I'll
right.
start it off. This
Go,
is
Tanya.
amazing. This is amazing. I have read the book, just so that you do know that, and I've been following your work and just really appreciative. The one thing that excites me, we're in the middle of our strategic planning process currently, and we should be finished by September. So this would be just an amazing opportunity if I'm able to participate in this to take us to the next level.
Tanya, I am so inspired by your journey. And after knowing everything that you know and seeing how all the sausage has been made by working with dozens and dozens of nonprofits through United Way and others, you
Mhm.
decided to step into the CEO role. And that's what
Yes.
I call appropriately crazy. All right. All of us on this call who are leading these organizations, we are just the right amount of crazy.
You got that right.
Tanya, thank you. Thank you for your
Oh,
work.
thank you, Chris.
Other questions, comments, thoughts? And if anybody's trying to speak, you just need to come off mute. And that's okay if there's no more, because we're going to send this out. Community Foundation Southeast Michigan is going to send it out, and we're going to be contacting those of you who are interested, moving the process forward full steam ahead. Anyone else?
Thank you for this today. I'm from City Year Detroit. My name is Rebecca Gillespie, and you, your introduction of what it is you can do for our team it almost brought me to tears. I would love this for our group. We have been hungry for this at City Year, and I think our Detroit team would largely benefit from a group coming in and showing us how we can better work together and work toward our shared mission of serving students and our young people that are in our programs. I would love it. This really is exciting. I hope we're considered.
Consider yourselves considered because I love that we're hearing from some really well-known organizations in our region. Because I think honestly, what impresses me so much about what you said, Rebecca, is really well-known orgs like City Year, like um, Alternatives for Girls, like Forgotten Harvest, right? I think it can be very humbling to say, hey, we still want to grow and we still need to grow. And maybe sometimes it can even cause fear to say, well, what message does this send to donors that we're admitting that we want to grow in some areas? And here's what I found. It's leaders like yourself, Rebecca, who are that hungry, humble, and smart that say, we all believe the people we serve deserve the very best we can give. And we want to go to the next level. We're ready to grow. Donors absolutely love that. Obviously, Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan has believed in capacity building work for a very long time, and that's what makes them one of my favorite funders. But Rebecca, thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting us. Hi, Sarah.
Anyone else want to share?
Thank you for
Yeah,
your candor. It's a privilege to be here to listen. Thank you.
yeah. It's Fred Hunter with PAL. Hello, Chris. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Hannah. Good to see everybody. And yeah, just echoing, just to see so many good leaders with a heart not only to do more, but to do more better. So definitely will be emailing you. about the cohort, have interest, and yeah, just appreciate the journey too. I was there, I think, at the book reveal, and love seeing what you're doing, Chris, and how you're impacting so many with this important work. So this has been great listening and relearning, and I think similar to Tanya, we're going through strategic planning that we plan to finish in September, October, and we were thinking strongly about. I was the operating model, here. And, that's being a key need to go to the next level. So yeah, appreciate it. Just want to say thank you. And it's wonderful.
Fred, I got a big smile when I saw you, not just because your photograph on here has a gigantic smile, which I love, but because yeah, you and I have been talking about this for several years. And again, it just shows, Sarah, thank you. When a funder steps in and says, we're in on this too, it makes it to where we as nonprofit leaders can do this work. So yes, Fred, let's go. Anyone else?
Hey, Chris, this is Nicole Birdreeves with Detroit Horsepower. Super excited about this opportunity for us. We're at such a pivotal time in our trajectory as an organization with our brand new facility opening at the end of this year. And so we have a lot of learning to do and growing that is happening currently. And the Community Foundation has been incredibly supportive in capacity building for kind of getting us ready in this space. But I think taking it a step further with this type of coaching is right up our alley and certainly couldn't be at a better time. We only have two executive leaders on our team because we are a small team at the moment. So I just put a plug in for some possible exceptions in that space, but would love to talk with David, our executive director, a little bit more about this option because I think it is definitely timely for us and certainly a great need.
Yeah, I don't want to speak out of turn. I got to be careful because sometimes I don't always follow things in the right process. But I will say I know Detroit Horsepower quite well. And David, we go back, years when you all were looking at the Durfee Innovation Society, and I've kind of had a front row seat to watching what you all have pulled off with a very extremely mighty and small team. And I know how serious that was to pull off that property and the stable. So I would say you're definitely the exception to the rule. You all are
Appreciate you.
extremely entrepreneurial and gritty and you ultimately most importantly you have the right heart for the people that you serve and the work.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you.
Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Okay, well, you've got our emails. Sarah and Community Foundations, for Southeast Michigan, thank you for finding a way to work on the technical difficulties. We've all been there. We all know what it's like to have a big meeting. And all of a sudden the Zoom wants to update again and restart and just say, well, I'm not working for you today. So thank you for finding a way. And I can't wait to team with you and with all the 20 in this cohort and the future together. Let's go to the next level.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to following up with everyone. Thanks for joining, and thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate it. And Brandy, congratulations. Take care, everyone.